Hey there, Gemini Sun, Gemini Moon, Gemini Rising. Welcome to your reading for the week of November 28th through Sunday, the 4th of December. You have the cards of organic balance and shadow coming up for your overall energy, which I find fascinating because we have Mercury opposing Mars retrograde in your sign on Tuesday, and on Wednesday Venus does. And I think that this is going to bring up for you an opportunity, and I really hope that you will view it as an opportunity to do a little bit of a deep dive into things that may have recently surfaced in your life that has you looking at family patterns, how they trigger you, how you work with this energy. It is the most growth that happens for us as always when we face our shadow side. And I think you might find yourself a little up in the head trying to sort through these energies and trying to figure out what you need to do next to heal them. It is an opportunity. This organic balance is about bringing yourself the opportunity to make the adjustments. Often it's in your adulthood that allow you to balance out the things that happened in your childhood. These are things that are coming in around your father or your mother issues is what it feels like. Probably most likely whoever was the nurturing caregiver, if you felt like you didn't get enough, if you felt like enough nurturing, enough love, or your concerns as a parent, are you nurturing and giving enough? There's something around healing that. And so a lot of times when these things come up, we are in the position of I feel like Chiron's involved with this. So Chiron's in Aries right now, which is Mars rules that too, and Mars is hanging out in your sign, and it's almost like a choice. You feel like you're at a choice point where you get to decide, to discern whether or not you want to work on the healing of these childhood things. And I don't know if you're here in the United States, you may have spent time with family last week, and it might have really stirred some stuff up, right? And so there's definitely something that came up out of nowhere. No matter where you are in the world, something recently has really triggered these energies around not feeling nurtured enough. It's definitely around the nurturing aspect, and so this is when we learn how to love ourselves enough that we bring this to the table, where we say, I'm going to choose to love myself and to accept myself for who I am, irregardless of what other people had to say, what they thought. It doesn't matter. I have worked through a lot of things. I would say probably a lot of this stuff got stirred up when the North Node was going through your sign, and even doing this integration. But for some reason, it's this Mars retrograding in your sign, going back and forth over stuff, and not allowing you to just be able to gloss it over and move on. You've been having to stop and kind of think about it and dwell on it, but it's not the dwelling of negativity. It is the dwelling of healing. Like, if I look at this from another direction, can I see how to heal this and how to bring this forward? And I think there's been this energy of not really being able to get the full picture of what needs to be done to heal this. But if you can figure out how to look at this wounding from the vantage point of, I'm going to go into the dark side, the shadow side of myself, with love and kindness and compassion, and accept that I do these things. I have a hair trigger response to some of these things because of what happened when I was a child, and people may not have known better then, right? You just whatever, like that happened then. I can't do anything about that, but what I can do is let myself off the hook. Okay, so I do this. I have this response, this reaction. It feels more like a reaction than a response to a situation when it comes up. And so if someone gets too close to me, I don't want to deal with that. Like, don't get so close to me. I need my space, kind of emotionally energy. Or when you say that thing, it really upsets me and I fire back with my, sword of truth on you, right? And so there's all this energy around this reactive Knight of Swords energy, either needing to create space for yourself to avoid being hurt again, or this you attacked me, even though they may or may not have meant to attack you, but they stepped on that wound that has not quite healed, and you lash out, right? And so it creates this cycle of drama. And if you can look at it and say, why when someone says that, or they get too close, or they whatever, it triggers this response in me that I don't like, that makes my life roll into this cycle of discomfort and drama. So let's, for instance, say you did not get enough love and time and attention from your mom. And so when you're in a relationship now, you're afraid to let anybody get in too close because it's uncomfortable. You're not used to it. And maybe you don't think you're worthy of love. And so how do you heal that? You start healing that by, one, recognizing that your parent was unable for whatever reason to give you what you needed as a small child. And two, that doesn't mean that there was anything wrong with you. I'm going to say that again. The wounding that happened to you when you were a child wasn't because of anything you've done. It wasn't because there's anything wrong with you. And as you've gone through into your adulthood and you've done similar things, because that's what we do, again, that doesn't mean there was anything wrong with you. But if you can look at that and identify, I don't like this about me, and I choose to do something differently, and it starts with me not being mad at me, but accepting that I'm going to have to figure out how to reprogram myself. And these are things we do with positive affirmations. These are things we do with, wait, stop, think, hold on, been here before, that wasn't good. What else can I do? Like, it's also by loving ourselves and saying, okay, wait, okay, so you did it again, but you noticed that you did it again. And that's a first step. That's a great first step, by the way. And so then the next time when it starts to happen and you're in the middle of it, you stop yourself. And you're like, okay, good for me. I recognized it. I stopped, not as soon as I would have liked to have. And especially when you could say, I'm sorry, I need to step away and figure out how to handle this, like in a conversation in a few minutes. Give me a minute here. It's the baby steps, but it's feeling really proud of yourself every time you do it, you notice it, you pay attention to it. And it doesn't matter. Like, okay, so this time you stopped. Okay, yeah. But the next time you totally forget, you blow right on through it and you're like, oh man, don't be mad at yourself because again, you still noticed it. And it takes practice to change a lifetime of reaction when a more thoughtful response is actually what you want to create. And it takes time. And there's a need to give yourself the space and the grace to go through this process of remolding your response so that it becomes the reaction that is a really good one, right? So this is automatic. I've seen this. I know how to handle this. And so giving yourself permission to not be perfect, to forgive yourself and to forgive others for the wounding that has happened. Wow. Okay, we are definitely on the right track here. Okay, so let's look at what the cards have to say. That was a lot that came through. So we have the Eight of Swords here. This is the Eight of Air. This is feeling trapped. It's in the key to the situation. It's trapped in the heart space. Ooh, I don't even know what the overall energy is. Oh, the High Priestess. Nice. So you can't necessarily remember what happened, how this is what you do. You may have blocked it out for a variety of reasons, or you just may have been really young and you don't remember this condition. It doesn't matter. Use the High Priestess energy, the connection with your higher self, to intuitively know what it is that you need. So that feels like a recognition that, okay, when someone says that to me, I have this reaction, and you may not know why you have that reaction. If you sit with it long enough, you may get there. But even if you don't, you can use the energy of the High Priestess to know how to handle it. Like using your intuition. Well, what should I do? What feels right? What feels correct for me? And what feels correct for you today may not be what feels correct for you tomorrow, and allow space for that continuum, growing, changing, evolving thing. It brings things into what they call an organic balance. As you start paying attention and awareness, you start shifting, and what creates the balance will just organically grow in your life. And so the High Priestess is really asking you to connect in with your higher self, because with this Eight of Swords, for some reason, you feel trapped in your thoughts. This is in the heart space. In my opinion, there's no room for thought in the heart space. The heart has its own little mini brain. It doesn't need the other one working, right? And so this energy right here is blocking what could be happening. And one of the things that it's blocking here is we have this beautiful Hierophant, which in this deck is a nice feminine receptive energy, which she's got this table like the magician. And so she has the fire in the candle, and she has the sword, but here it is an inkwell and a feather. And so a lot of times to unlock some of this stuff, sitting down and journaling about our feelings really helps, particularly when you're an air sign. And there is the chalice, the cup of love, the cup of self-love that we offer ourselves, which is showing up here. And how do you get into the resources? It is definitely with this messenger. Oh, it's a messenger of air. It looked like water. Interesting. That's the journaling. Automatic writing. So when you sit down, wow, okay. When you sit down and you start writing what you remember, what happened, the events of what just happened now, or the events of how you feel about it, or I feel like the more you get into the feelings, the easier it is to heal this energy. But my mom was a Gemini, and she certainly wasn't into talking about her feelings. So I tend to think air signs are a little uncomfortable with that's not exactly, it depends on what else is in your chart though. So I'm not saying, oh, you're a Gemini, you don't like to deal with your feelings, because you could be a Gemini with, a Scorpio moon, and you're deep into your feelings. You just don't want everyone to know about it. It could be a lot of things. So I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say that you know yourself. And the more though that you can get in and allow the energy to flow, which is the feeling energy of water, it's also the healing energy. The more flow there is, the quicker the healing is what they're saying. So, but okay, back to this card. She has crystals. That's the pentacles. That's the earth energy. She has this perfume bottle, which is really your essence. It's your inner beauty. There's also a couple of rings on the table, but they're kind of off to the side, and it's about this commitment. I feel like it's a commitment, a connection that you have with your higher self that really allows you to move through this energy. And so this energy here is feeling really stuck. And the way forward is the Two of Fire. And this is trusting that Spirit is going to move you forward slowly, one step at a time. It's almost like you're peering into the darkness to see what the next step is, because you may not understand what is next. But if you can trust your higher self and take the steps that are guided to you, and I really want to encourage you, step number 1 is identifying the situation, an awareness, bringing your awareness to it, either through journaling about it, or you really want to go back, because how do you transform this situation? It is water energy. It's the 6 of Cups here. This is going back into the memories. And I want to say, recognizing that you weren't the one that did anything wrong. You were a small child. You can't do anything wrong when you're a small child. Whatever upset your parents or whatever they did had nothing to do with what you were doing. It was that they hadn't dealt with their small child issues. And unfortunately, it gets passed down through generations. And here's your opportunity to stop that, to heal the ancestral pattern of passing on this negative energy to future generations. And sometimes we do not figure it out until our children have grown. And all of a sudden one day you go, oh. And so now they're in the position that they have to do the healing work too. And at that point in time, it becomes very beneficial to their healing process for you to step up to the plate and say, yo, I recognize my part in this, but don't let them beat you up about it. Don't do that. That's not good for anybody. Accept responsibility, but then go back and do your own healing work. You're not doing their healing work. They came here to do that. And so you've been trying to seek some balance, the 6 of Pentacles. How do I bring balance into my life? And then there's the 6 of Water. And so you bring the balance in by pouring this healing water all over and seeing that. And this Knight of Air, which is really like the Knight of Swords, but look at this. She's not rushing in. She is receiving messages, and she is looking to the past. In the area of the obstacle to overcome, we have the Tower. So that's why I think something recently happened. Something that has disrupted everything around you, and it has brought and churned all this up. And now currently you're in the energy here of the Moon. And the Moon says to examine your fears, to face your fears, to go into the shadow. To go into the shadow and face your fears and say, I was wounded. And even though you can't necessarily figure out why you were wounded, sometimes when you figure out where you were wounded, or even just acknowledging I was wounded and now I'm going to focus on healing. And I do think you're supposed to focus on healing. We have the Queen of Pentacles, the Queen of Earth. This is nurturing energy. This is the willingness to prune, to cut out what you don't need anymore. This is the willingness to feed, to nurture, to grow what is of value. And to recognize when it's time to harvest and release and let something go. Either a cycle has ended, we're planting new seeds of intention. She is the ultimate gardener. And so you're being asked to nurture and mother your inner child. And if you can do this for yourself, there's a lot of abundance moving toward you. But it starts with your ability to forgive. And so Saturn is going to trine Mars on Monday. And this is a great area to really focus your thoughts on a long term of what it is you want to do And in that energy of the moon in Aquarius, you have the card of forgiveness. You don't have to forgive the acts of what happened to you, but you can forgive the soul of who did these acts. Because you don't have to understand why they did it. You don't have to condone what they did. You don't have to accept what they did as a judgment of who you are. But you can forgive them for not knowing better. That you can do. And then you forgive yourself for not having figured it out until now. And forgive yourself for the things you haven't figured out yet that you're going to figure out. Because forgiveness is truly unconditional love. And that is the kind of love you deserve, that we all deserve. Loving yourself starts with forgiving. Moon moves into Pisces. It's there Wednesday and Thursday. And you have this root chakra. It's called Snowflake Obsidian. It's safety in the hurricane of life. A strong foundation will keep you safe. This is rooting into, look how pretty that is. This is rooting into the safety and the security of being your own sense of nurturing and balance, knowing that you can nurture and love yourself. There's this healing. Okay. I don't know if this will work for you or not, but this is what they're showing me. They're showing me this, it's like barren landscape, like trees that are burned out and stuff, and there's this big gash in earth. And there's this pouring these buckets of water into the gash. And as the dry dirt becomes wet, it creates this mud and it starts to heal the wound. And so it's almost like the more love you pour into the barren landscape of whatever happened to you, you heal it. It's getting to the root of it. I'm actually seeing this tree that's right there at this gash, and I'm watching as you pour the water in. That tree, nothing's happening there. What I'm seeing is that, sometimes they come up from the roots and they grow new trees. I'm seeing new growth, but it could also be from seeds that fell. But there's new growth happening around there. It's not happening at the burnt out at the tower. It's not happening there. But the more love you pour onto it, the more other new things have the opportunity to grow. It's almost like you're bringing the fertility back. And then as that moon moves into Aries, you have the cards here of the avocado dragon, which is patience. It's going to take time. And the strawberry dragon of celebration. And strawberries are so sweet. Both of these things, you need to wait until they're ripe. There's a sweetness and a goodness and a richness that comes from this energy. But it requires sunlight. Strawberries need sunlight. And so doing the shadow work, facing the shadow and shining a light on it, you increase the lightness and the darkness diminishes. And then the emotional energy, the water, the love that you pour onto a situation. The two things, strawberries need rain and sunshine both to get to that celebration point. You have here for the moon in Taurus, new growth. New opportunities are coming from this. It was difficult. This week feels very difficult, and it feels like it's the beginning. You are not. Do not expect yourself to heal it all this week, because that's not going to happen. But I do think that Mercury and Venus opposing Mars in your sign brings it to your awareness. And that is the first step, is recognizing there's a shadow, there's a wound, and then recognizing that the more love you pour onto it, that unconditional love that begins with forgiveness, the sooner that wound heals. And if there is something that's been brought up that is not your inner child wounding, but somebody else's, this feels like you have to face your own shadow, though. But I'm going to finish that sentence. The ability to forgive them, it heals you. They have to do their own shadow work. That's not your job. Your job is to do your shadow work. But if you can forgive them, that cuts that cord between the two of you of negativity. Doesn't mean it ends a relationship. It cuts a negative cord, which allows the opportunity for new growth that has more prosperity and abundance attached to it. So, messenger of air in the area of prosperity. I feel like this week, thoughtful communication with yourself or with a family member has a lot of potential to bring in abundance also. But this feels very much like this week feels very uncomfortable and necessary. And so walk through the shadow, face the shadow, because when you face the shadow, you shine a light on it. And the more light you shine on it, the smaller the shadow becomes. But it is in facing the shadow that we grow. That is how we get to the new growth. You don't, without going through the winter, we don't get to the spring, right? You've got to go in there and do the hard work. It's kind of a tough message. All right, Gemini, I'm going to do a collective reading. I have no idea what that'll be about, but I'm sure it'll cover something not this that you might find useful this week. So that's at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time Zone US on Sunday nights. I always do a 1 then. And I'm on Facebook every day where I really get into the energy of the day. If you were looking for very specific, how do I handle this day energy, that'll be over there. Because this is very... This may not be for you. Again, check out your sun, moon, and rising if this is not resonating with you. But shadow work is the most important work that we do. It is where the growth happens. It is the soul growth. It is the expansive energy. You got to go into the darkness to bring up the light. All right, guys. You take really good care. I mean that. I'll talk to you soon.